Sure you visit offshoreinsiders.com for both vetted sports books and, of course, the top handicappers in the history of the world. Some free picks for today and some news and notes. Philadelphia and Milwaukee. Big quality underdogs on the road are a fade of 771, 612, and 36. That would favor Milwaukee. A wake-up call. We always say that when a team is struggling, as Philadelphia is, sometimes it just takes some type of wake-up call. Maybe it'll be a mid-season trade. Maybe it'll be a coach being fired, or maybe it'll be a team meeting. Well, in this case, after the Sixers were humiliated, even Ben Simmons, who at times has certainly been criticized himself for being soft, said his team was soft. So maybe kind of a rallying cry here. Now, keep in mind, Philadelphia, as much as any team in sports in a while, completely different at home than on the road. They're much better at home than on the road, but such teams, remember, splits just do not hold up. And if you took teams like the 76ers in the NBA that were substantially better at home than on the road, but then bet the road team, so then, in other words, bet against the splits, bet them on the road and against them at home, we have a system that is solid. 10, 23, 9, 59, and 44. Now, that system is only 51.8%. So I'm not saying to bet on that system, but it is a warning. Don't outsmart yourself. Some of the biggest wannabe handicappers, one of the biggest square myths, is to bet on splits. It's bad. You're just going to lose. We have a lot of our angles are what I call anti-splits angles. This isn't a perfect example of one, but keep in mind, splits rarely hold up. Now, huge home favorites in same season revenge, in which they were blown out in that game, 234, 181, and 11. That would favor Milwaukee. Fade better than 600 teams, though, off of a 30-point loss, and losers of 3 straight, which is the Sixers. They're still above 600, but they've dropped 3 straight, and they're off of an embarrassing loss. Very rarely applies in the history of our database, fading such teams. 5-1. Philadelphia is in the first of back-to-back games. Sixers' 4th road game in a row, though spread over 8 days. Road underdogs off of 3 straight road losses, though a pretty good play at 322, 41, and 17. But big home favorites, and we talked a little bit about this, but big home favorites in same season revenge of a blowout loss. 752, 628, and 35. And again, the parameter is a little bit different. That's why more games apply here, including 213, 139, and 8 since 2013. Your free pick, the Milwaukee Bucks. San Antonio and Portland, the Blazers' first of back-to-back games. 3rd of 8 straight road games for the Spurs. They're on that infamous rodeo road trip. Portland only their 2nd game in 5 days. When you have both teams off of blowout losses, it goes over. 57.6% of the time, we've got the over as a free pick. I got a lot more coming up, including some critical injuries and some betting trends for you as far as sharp versus square and whatnot. But before we do that, well, Joe Duffy's picks, an absolutely stunning 34-17 in the NBA. Get 4 NBA winners led by a wise guy play, and get an 82% college basketball angle. More accurately, 2 very good angles corroborate each other. When they both apply in the same game, in the history of my database, it hits at a jaw-dropping, balls-to-the-wall 82%. What are we talking about? OffshoreInsiders.com has all the details. In NBA injuries for fantasy basketball and, most importantly, for bettors. Zion Williamson is active for New Orleans against the Chicago Bulls. Russell Westbrook, I'll spit it out, Houston at the LA Lakers, is listed as questionable. Anthony Davis for the LA Lakers versus the Houston Rockets is probable. And yeah, as far as major injuries, they are really the biggest headlines. All right, now let's take a look at your biggest consensus plays in terms of percentage of bets. And this is the information that contrarian bettors would use. Contrarian bettors believe you should fade these 87% of the public likes New Orleans. 87% of the bets are on New Orleans. 83% on Portland. Now, again, when it comes to contrarian plays, this specific statistic is based on the number of bets. Yes, a $5 bet equals the same as a $5,000. I like to explain it on a regular basis. Why is that? Well, it is because the theory being that the square player, the guy that's betting $5, $10, $20 per play, that's where the best contrarian information does come from. And that is why. Now, we also take a look at the biggest consensus plays based on the amount of money bet. That would be Portland. An unbelievable 99% of the money is on the Portland Trailblazers, 87% on Orlando. Now let's go to college basketball, based again on the number of bets, the percentage of bets. 84% of bets on Tulsa and 82 on Delaware. Biggest sportsbook liabilities, where is the money going? 96% of the money is on Pepperdine, 94 on St. Mary's, 93 on Elon, Northern Arizona, Southern Utah, and Pacific. Now, the biggest line moves for today, some smaller ones in the NBA. New Orleans opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. They're now up to 5, but that's because Zion Williamson. There's not really any sharp movement there. Williamson went from questionable to probable. And then the LA Lakers, well, we talked about some injury information there. Lakers open up as a 6-point favorite. They are now a 7.5-point favorite. And let's take a look in college basketball. Nothing that big. Stanford open up as a 1.5-point favorite. They're now a 1.5-point underdog. Again, visit offshoreinsiders.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. The plays of the pros at offshoreinsiders.com.